Back on In Focus tonight, another threat of day zero looms for the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, as the Metro says dams will run dry in July. But how will this situation affect the poor and the working class? Antony Martel, member of the Nelson Mandela Bay Water Crisis Committee, joins me now to give us some perspective. Good to have you, Martin. Thank you very much Anthony, and thank you very much for coming on. While we're hearing of plans that are afoot to unseat the DA-led coalition in government. There'll be a new government very soon. There have been some challenges, for example, of crimes against social workers in Nelson Mandela Bay and so on and so forth. Is there any particular attention? Are there only plans afoot to deal with the water crisis?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. So I think the municipality has, obviously announced that they have a number of programs in the works. These amount to, I believe, 4 groundwater schemes, one of which has been completed that I think can produce about 2.1 megaliters. They're talking about a phase 4 to the Newzroom scheme that comes from the Free State. And then also, a number of pump stations that, one of which is going to be in Busle, I think they said, that is going to, distribute this water across the municipality because, well, the dams, are either very unstable or inactive, like the Impofu Dam. So in the bigger picture, they have, a number of projects that are underway. However, like you said, there's not a lot of attention that's really being focused on working class communities. Up in places like the Chris Hani settlements, their residents, continue to have intermittent water shutoffs. Last year, they had 6 months without any water. And this means that there's no water coming into the taps, the sewage lines aren't running. Then again in December until about February, again, the same situation, they didn't have any water. Up in Greenbushes, there as well, there is no water running into people's houses. There are a system of taps. They look like water meters with pieces of pipe running out of them where at different times of the day residents can get water. But again, it's the same story as Chris Hani. You have oftentimes little children or men and women walking with buckets and shopping carts with their water containers to fill them up. And of course, Busle, where Chris Hani settlement is a very big area. So in fact, residents, because the water trucks don't always come to these places, so they have to go into taxis to then travel to another area where there is a water tanker. So you imagine, working class, many residents unemployed who then have to spend money on their own behalf to travel somewhere else to get water. What we discovered also in Chris Hani. These residents continued to get water bills. In all the period of last year, 6 months, 7 if you count December, they were still getting water bills. And I've seen them. Some of them range up to 100,000 rand.
Sure.
So, the water meters still run. There, in Chris Hani in August, we as the Water Crisis Committee had a meeting, and the director of water distribution, Joseph Setsiri, came and he gave a presentation. Residents expressed this complaint of the fact that they're still getting water bills in spite of the fact that they don't have any water.
So what are they being billed for? They're being billed for air?
Precisely. This is exactly what Joseph Setsiri explained in that meeting, is that actually the air pressure, there's no distinction between water pressure and air pressure in these meters. So when water does not flow through the pipes, air flows through the pipes. And this is what's causing residents' bills to run up. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that these are simply estimations. That they are not even checking anything. That they're just continuing to bill because they haven't checked. So that's another possibility. But I mean, to go back to the meeting in August of last year with Joseph Setsire, there he promised or expressed, that he was going to do something about this, that he was going to plan to scrap these bills, because of course, residents that don't have any water going into their taps but still getting billed, I mean, that is an illegitimate debt, for which the fact that the municipality is saying, the dams are going to run out likely sometime, this winter, like in July, they said a month or two ago. Now, on top of this, residents are still facing up with these debts, and will they continue to rise? I mean, this is something that must be addressed. This is something that we absolutely need to have dealt with, because it's just simply unfeasible to imagine that you would expect someone to pay for such an astronomical fee that they don't even have a service for. Yeah.
So let's talk about how this is being addressed. For example, I mean, earlier in the year, around February, we were seeing reports that says combined levels of the Nelson Mandela Bay supply dams dropped to 12.38%. Don't know where they are sitting now. But one of the issues that was raised was, for example, to bring down consumption, right? The city is supposed to be consuming 230 megaliters. That's 230 million liters of water. The mayor is saying currently residents are using an average of 290 megaliters. So what's key here is to reduce consumption. So what is being done on the consumption side to suppose promote campaigns that encourage the residents to use water sparingly?
Yeah, I've been paying attention to this, and I think that while I think there is very much a merit to the problem of consumption, but the question is whose consumption? Because yes, depending on when or what estimate is provided, it's anywhere between 286 and 300 megaliters a day. I think that the 230 megaliters comes from the fact that the Newzroom scheme provides about 210 megaliters, and then the 10 or 20 comes from the dams. Or there's 100 megaliters that comes from the dam. So that's why this question of the dams is such an issue, because once they run out, then there's almost 100 megaliters that is unaccounted for. However, there was a report that was released recently by it was an investigation by Ground Up that was reporting on a study that was done recently about consumption in Cape Town. It reports that 14% of the population is classified as wealthy households, while they consume more than half of all domestic supply. Also, we have to factor in industry as well. You have the auto sector composing about 40% of GDP in the city. Yeah. And believe it or not, producing a car requires a lot of water. Some estimates go up to 14,000 liters just in manufacturing. And then there's higher estimates, but there's questions around. Of course, there's tires and things like this. There is a tire factory in PE. Anyway, the Volkswagen factory produces 680 cars a day. Mind you, Volkswagen factory in Uitenhage is less than 5 minutes away from Chris Hani settlement. They didn't have any water for 6 months. It's a question of, how as a city are we going to deal with the amount of water that's left? Because of course, yes, industry provides employment, and, working class people, needs, income, which comes from working. But if we run out of water, then businesses will shut down because you can't go to the office. Yeah. The sewage system is going to shut down. But also what is being done about it? Talking to people up in Krishani settlement, I mean, they refer to, when water did come back, that, they are starting to have these, capped meters installed. Basically, there's a restrictor on there's a restriction on how much water you can consume after a certain point in a day. But of course, if we know that, it's, the suburban areas, especially in places like Summerstrand, there's a lot of swimming pools, there's hotels there. This is the tourist industry here. So it's, a part of the city's economy. This is where most of the water consumption is. I mean, obviously, besides also some of these industrial sites, factories and such. I mean, there's also a Coca-Cola factory here that produces. I mean, it consumes a lot of water. I think it's 1.5 liters for every liter of Coke that's produced. Yeah. And globally, Coca-Cola has a very poor record of dealing with water supply in communities.
So I hear the point you're making, Anthony. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So you're saying, actually, maybe more broadly, the question we should be asking, who should be restricting their consumption of water more than putting that burden on the poor communities of the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Let's leave it there for now, but I appreciate you, and thank you very much for coming on tonight. That's Antony Martel, member of the Nelson Mandela Bay Water Crisis Committee.